I want to talk to the CEOs and senior leaders in this post about how the rules are changing. Yesterday's post was kind of a fun post about how I got a lost bag back going through non-traditional channels and how the rules of customer service and customer success have changed. Today I want to talk about some other areas in society that have changed, and one other area in particular, and that's the political landscape. No, this is not a political post. I don't do those. I'm not going to do those. But this is really a post about how what got us to where we are will not get us to where we need to go. And I want to talk again directly to senior leaders and CEOs about this, because in order to survive, especially starting in 2025, we're a quarter of the way through this century. That is mind-boggling to me. And this century has been very different from the last and will continue to be more different with the rise of AI, with the poly crisis, with the rise of the empowered workforce. How we need to approach business is, I think, considerably different. The case in point that I want to talk about today is the two campaigns. So the US election, obviously, we had two very, very different candidates with two very, very different philosophies on what the United States is, what its potential is, and how to help it realize its true potential and the levers that we need to push and pull. Now, traditional campaigns, if you had the biggest war chest, and if you had the best ground game, and if you had the best, most coherent policy messages, you would win, hands down, hands down. I believe, in my humble opinion, that Kamala Harris had that. Now, I was actually part of the ground game. Full disclosure, I posted on LinkedIn that I spent a week in the US campaigning, door knocking for Kamala. Now, I am not aligned politically necessary to a party. I'm aligned to a set of ideals. So again, I don't want to get into the politics of this, but I was fighting for a set of ideals. But this isn't about that. I really want to talk about my experience on the ground. So I was on the ground for 6 days. I would have been there for 7, but I had food poisoning one day, so I stayed in bed. But for 6 days, I was door knocking, and I was part of a sea of volunteers that were in Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin was one of the swing states. It's where I grew up, and it's very close to where my sister lives, so it was a no-brainer for me. If I wanted to door knock, that's where I would do that. And what impressed me was that there were so many people from out of state and out of country that came in, and we had a ground game. The guy who runs the Democratic Party in Wisconsin, his name is Ben Wickler, and he is widely acknowledged to be one of the rising stars within the machinery of the Democratic Party. His execution was flawless under the old rules. Kamala had more money. I think she had a more cohesive policy, but that's up to debate. But she certainly had more money, and she certainly had a better ground game. Neither myself nor my canvassing partner nor anybody that I talked to when I would pop into the offices to get new lists to go out and door knock, none of us had run into anybody who was door knocking for Trump. He just didn't have a ground game. But clearly he didn't need one because he won the election. So again, conventional wisdom, if you have the best war chest, if you had the best ground game, and if you have the most cohesive policies, there's no way that you can lose, and yet we did. There are many, many, many reasons that Trump prevailed. The U.S. has spoken. The majority of people have voted for Trump, and I respect that. I absolutely respect that. But I think that one of the many things that we can learn from this election that directly relates to CEOs and senior leaders is that the rules have changed. We cannot operate from past experience. Past experience needs to inform what we do, but when we look ahead into 2025 and beyond, we need to recognize where the market is and where society is right now. I mean, the markets have defied expectations since COVID. Economically, every country has defied expectations since COVID. The labor market has certainly defied expectations. The labor market is not acting the way the labor market normally acts. And there was a number of reasons for that. There's going to be more posts around a modern talent strategy that myself and my friend and collaborator, Laura Staples, and I are developing. But my comment to you, CEOs and senior leaders, is that going into 2025, as we develop strategy, as we start to execute that strategy, first of all, it has to be dynamic and it has to have your finger on the pulse of what's happening right now, of what the new market and economic factors are right now, of what the new labor market is right now, because it's a very, very, very different labor market than we've seen in the past and will continue to change. So, food for thought. Please do not post any political comments, but I'd love to hear your comments around what you are seeing in society that has changed. And if you are a CEO or a senior leader, what you're doing to make sure that your company stays relevant, not only in 2025, but in the years ahead. I look forward to your comments.